And leading the way in the Jaguar. Then Brian Thompson from Victoria in the Chevy Monza. Why don't we check out the full grid, in fact, while we're at it. Mark Trenauth in pole position in the Jag in a neat 50 seconds, sharing the front row of the grid with Brian Thompson in the Chevy Monza. Next position is Keith Carling, car number 14, a Mazda RX-7. Then Bob Tyndall, the series leader in a Tirana, followed by Russell KRAMER in a Falcon. Sixth position on the grid goes to Neil Crompton in the Mazda RX-7, followed by Tony Herbert in an Escort. Then Gary Wilmington, car 69, a Commodore, followed by Tony Scott from Queensland. That's Gary Scott's brother, driving a Mazda RX-3. Steve Jagger in a Tirana. Alan Linton-Smith drives a Bellet. And then Clyde Lee in a Mini, making up the top 12 in a field of 24. And there again, you can see the JPS airship just above Nissan Skyline here at Amaroo Park, helping us to keep track of these very powerful and very speedy sports sedans in this Toledo Tools final for the 87 series here at Amaroo Park.
I think Mark Trenauth might well be the man to beat over the distance. 10 laps. Tyres have a habit of going off just slightly in a 10-lap scream around Amaroo Park. If they do, of course, the man to watch obviously will be Keith Carling, sharing the front row of the grid with Mark Trenauth this afternoon. Will be Shepparton's Brian Thompson in the Chevy Monza. He was only 61/100ths of a second slower than the Jag exponent from Queensland yesterday, and also had problems with the car this morning in an earlier race. He tends to get off the line just a little slower today to make sure everything meshes. Otherwise, he'll be sitting there going every which way. Brian Thompson in the Chevrolet Monza. Keith Carling, the first of the Mazda drivers, starting from position 3. And I must back what Gary said, probably the biggest crowd we've seen at Amaroo Park Raceway this afternoon for the 8th round of the Shell Ultra National Touring Car Championship, with the Nissan Peter Jackson team of George Fury and Glenn Seaton sharing the front row. There's Neil Crompton in the Castrol Mazda RX-7, donning the red jacket for a red driving suit, temporarily anyway, for 10 minutes today. And he'll be back on along with Gary and also Peter McKay for specialist comments throughout this afternoon.
Bob Tyndall leading this series, as I mentioned, on 21 points ahead of Keith Carling on 15 points. Of course, Keith Carling we interviewed as the winner of the previous round of the series here, and after that he had the race taken off him because a check found that they'd gone, in fact, an additional lap. And when they discounted the lap, they discovered that Tyndall, in fact, had been in front after 10 laps, and he took the points.
It could happen at the Melbourne Cup, couldn't it?
It's happened at the trots before, don't you worry. Mistake on the laps.
30 seconds away from the start of the Toledo Tools Sports Sedan Series this afternoon at Sydney's Amaroo Park. Pole sitter Mark Trenauth in the Colorbond Jaguar, sharing the front row with him Brian Thompson of Shepparton in the Chevy Monza. Row 2, Keith Carling and Bob Tyndall. Row 3, Russell KRAMER in the Falcon, and Neil Crompton, of course, in the Castrol Mazda RX-7. Flag is up. Racing now in the Toledo Tools Sports Sedan 4th round series, and it's Mark Trenauth who gets away quickly. Keith Carling got a beautiful start. Here goes Crompton up on the outside of Russell KRAMER as they reach the top of Nissan Skyline and drop down into Dunlop Loop. And it's Trenauth, Carling, a beautiful start. Brian Thompson in 3rd. Bob Tyndall is the next one through, followed by Russell KRAMER. Neil Crompton rounds out the 7 as they exit now to the back part of the circuit. We join Racecam aboard the Castrol Mazda.
Let's have a look at Crompton in action behind the wheel here in what is Mike Griffin's Mazda RX-7 former Group C car. It's a big handful, but Crompton has showed that he's up to the task, qualifying 6th position on the grid, holding that spot down to this stage in the first lap of the race.
Down to the late corner, Trenauth very cleanly out of the turn. Here comes Brian Thompson up on the inside and takes back 2nd from Carling as they go across the line. 1 completed, 9 to run. And heading up Nissan Skyline again, the Queenslander Mark Trenauth in the Colorbond Jaguar, doing it ever so nicely over the top and dropping down into the loop. A better start this time from Brian Thompson. Holds a solid 2nd. That's going to be hard for Keith Carling in the opening laps because that Chevy Monza has plenty of horsepower. The man used to tooling a V8.
Chris Clearahan out of the race. The man from Canberra was expected to be a danger in the Chevy-powered Alfetta, but unfortunately he's pulled off the circuit. And we follow Keith Carling in third spot, coming down to the late corner once again as he tails Mark Trenouth and Brian Thompson. And Queensland's Dick Johnson joins us, a fellow Queenslander in front here, Dick.
Actually, he does a very good job around here because, you know, the car really is not suited for this particular type of circuit, but he's doing a great job. This is our friend Neil Crompton trying his heart out here. He's trying to get around this great big V8 that's in front of him. I've just been watching for a couple of laps. He's been having plenty of trouble, and he made a real dive at him under brakes down at the stop-start corner down there at Winfield, which I think he might have a good go this time.
Are you picking up any points, are you, from Crompton's driving style?
Oh, we watch him, mate. I tell you what, he's... If he drove half as good as he talks, he'd be looking real good.
Well, he's not doing too bad. Your opinion after watching him in the heat race this morning, Nicky?
Actually, he's doing a good job. Like the guy is staying on the black stuff, which is the name of the game.
It worries me because he went into this meeting having had a fine career in motocross racing.
Well, actually, he's probably polishing up. He's probably polishing up on his statistics as he's going up here. I'm in fourth gear here at 8.5 and all this sort of thing. So he'll be able to give you a full account later on, I'm sure.
He hasn't had much time to read his notes so far. Over the top at Nissan Skyline again, and down towards the Dunlop Loop goes Neil Crompton in car 41. Still holding down 6th position on the racetrack.
Order unchanged. Trenouth still leads. Brian Thompson in second. Third place, of course, held by Keith Carling. And fourth by Bob Tyndall. Then the great scrap between Russell KRAMER and Neil Crompton. And problems here.
He's broken a rear hub by the look.
Yes, hand up for Mark Trenouth. That throws it open a little because it'll put Brian Thompson out in front and the Chevy Monza. Bad luck indeed for pole sitter Mark Trenouth in the Colorbond Jaguar.
That brings Crompton up one more place.
Have a lot of trouble hauling in the leader, though. Now, Brian Thompson in the Monza. Going great guns out in front. Looks like he's had a nudge in the side of the car there too.
He's trying to wear the number off by the look at this.
There's the gap from first to second to third as they come down the back part of Amaroo Park's course towards the left-hander at Honda Corner. Thompson through. There's Carling in the Mazda RX-7, number 14. And probably 100 or so metres then back to Bob Tyndall. And the only real scrap of this race so far is, in fact, Russell KRAMER and Neil Crompton.
Yes, they go through the corner, 4th and 5th, very close together as we follow Keith Carling. Here's Crompton again on the tail of Russell KRAMER, coming round into the main straight here at Amaroo Park and across the start-finish line.
This is a 10-lapper. You would expect on KRAMER's car the tyres to get away probably after the 6th or 7th lap.
I'm sure they'll end up like margarine after about 8 of them, and Crompton will have a ball then.
They probably make the big dive down the inside at the right-hander at Lake Corner. We'll wait and see as they come down through Mazda Corner.
You see Thompson's car could end up the same too, the big Chevy Monza, because it'd be pretty hard on tyres around here. It's got a lot of power.
Carling has a reputation of being a last lap screamer in these 10 lappers. Great pictures from race cam as we come down to the Lake Corner. There's our race leader Brian Thompson from Shepparton in the Kenworth truck Chevy Monza. Booming up Bitchapave.
Oh, he's out too.
Yep, the hand goes out.
Crompton moves up another spot.
Yes.
Oh, gee, if they go on long enough.
He's going to have a win here.
I could do a Will Hagen, so it's a high rate of attrition.
There's Carling right on Thompson's hammer now. Oh, he's got going again. I don't know what the problem was.
They're coming up into some Butte traffic here through Mazda Corner.
This will be interesting.
Carling looking for some way around Thompson.
I tell you what, if Thompson don't get out of this corner too good, he might find a Mazda down the inside of him at the next corner.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Oh,
And there's
Carling's got one.
Crompton's come up another one.
Bang, that's 2 more gone. They took out a lap car. Oops, and Carling winds up against the wall or the bank.
Well, that hands the series to Bob Tyndall.
It closes it up considerably because Russell KRAMER and Crompton are still at it, and just in front of them is the... Oh, I don't think Keith Carling is very happy about that. Let's go to the Shell ultra-high replay. There's Brian Thompson going through, the other car being lapped. Carling makes his move down the outside as the guy gets the tail of it back. Bam, straight into the side of Carling.
Actually, the guy obviously leapt off the end of that curve down there, which is...
Just launched him on.
It launches the car in the air.
Just to make sure that Keith doesn't get away, he just goes into crease the back. Most unfortunate for Keith Carling. He was looking like the eventual winner of this race, putting a lot of pressure on Bryan Thompson. This Thompson in car number 2.
Down into the late corner, and he's got away again.
Obviously, the guy's having gear selection problems of some sort because he stopped and then takes off again.
Here comes, oh, the real battle now is for second, third, and fourth spots. This is the man that's leading the race.
Then you got Tyndall, and then KRAMER and
yep, there's
your friend and mine.
Sevens race cam in Neil Crompton's car. Up ahead of him, Russell KRAMER. And, of course, ahead of that pair, Bob Tyndall. So it's a race in 3 for second position in the event at the moment.
I think you'd be starting to feel the frustrations of an underpowered car, which most of us have felt over the years, I think.
2 laps to go. And this is Crompton's big chance. They're closing up.
It's a pity, Mike, we can't talk to him. I'd love to have a talk to him.
What are you doing now?
Why did you do that?
Well, it's a case of Neils on wheels at Amaroo Park. Comes down here on the inside, KRAMER.
Here we go. We've got the director's special on the right.
Down to the late corner, the right-hander. There's KRAMER diving under one of the slower cars. Crompton goes through. Thompson already going across the line. He's on his last lap, and here's the scrap for second, third, and fourth. Bob Tyndall running second. Russell KRAMER is third. Crompton is fourth as they go up Pitcher Pave now for the final time. V8's getting away from him as Thompson drops into the Dunlop loop.
Well, he can afford to cruise from here, Thompson, and still win the race. Final round of the Toledo Tool Series. And after a slight hiccup mid-race, and, of course, a slight accident befalling Keith Carling, it's all been handed to Bryan Thompson on a plate. And he'll come round Honda corner for the last time.
Here's a go. Here's Crompton. He's having a go.
Crompton. Yeah, it's his last desperate chance. Bob Tyndall there.
He needs energy-absorbing bumper bars, I think.
Whoa! Head down to the late corner for the final time. Everyone down on the binders. Here's our race leader, Bryan Thompson. Comes out of the last corner, goes across the strike. He picks up.
No, he's up the outside. He's on. Yes, I tell you what. Excuse me.
Well, he's taken care of Russell KRAMER. Yeah. Bob Tyndall takes second place and Crompton third.
How are you for socks and underwear?
We'll soon know. Well, what a finish to the Toledo Tool Sports Sedan Series here this afternoon at Sydney's Amaroo Park Raceway. Bryan Thompson picks up the win. Bob Tyndall gets second, and the skip lid kid takes third.